Hello, in this video we'll talk about data pre-processing. So this is chapter 2 we are talking about. The real world data is dirty, misaligned, overly complex and inaccurate. So in essence, it is not ready for analytics. We need to do a lot of work before we can make it ready for analytics. It needs to go through a time-consuming process called data pre-processing, which converts the raw real-world data into a well-refined form for analytics algorithm. Some people will tell you that time spent on data pre-processing is significantly longer than the time spent on the rest of the analytics. That's true, and it's a time well spent, because it is necessary to make sure that we can run the analytics tasks and get credible results, get correct results. So spend that time for pre-processing. Pre-processing is an art and it gets better with experience. So the more you work with data, the better you will be at pre-processing. Let's look at what data pre-processing looks like. So here's what it is. So we have data coming from various sources, which contains raw data. It needs to go through a four-step process. The first or four-step or four-phase process. The first phase is data consolidation. In this phase, the relevant data is collected from different identified sources. So we collect the data. Some of the data may be needed for our analysis, something may be not necessary. So we select the necessary records and variables, and unnecessary information can be left out or filtered out. Then, since we may have data coming from various sources, we need to integrate the data. So that's data consolidation. The next phase is data cleaning or data scrubbing. In this phase, if we have missing values in data or if we have noisy values in the data, these need to be identified and dealt with. For example, if you have missing values based on the neighboring values, you might like to impute the missing values. If you have noise in the data, you may like to reduce the noise in the data. If you have duplicate values, you can eliminate the duplicate values. The next phase is called data transformation. Transformation may include things such as normalizing of data, discretizing of data, or creating new attributes. So let's see what do these things mean. For example, if some of the values are too high and you think that they may bias your data, you may need to normalize the data between a certain minimum and maximum for all values to mitigate the potential bias. For discretization, what that means is, let's say you have a continuous variable and it's a number variable or numerical, but you may need to form groups out of this data. So convert numerical values to categorical values. For example, let's say you have credit rating of people or the credit score, which is a number like 700, 800, something like that. But if for the purpose of your analysis, if you need to convert it to know that whether this is a good rating or not, you may create different categories such as low, medium, high, and you define what is low, what is medium, what's high. So that's discretization. Then another possible transformation can be creating new attributes. Maybe you have some variables. Together, they decide an outcome. So let's say you have 3 or 4 variables, and if you are looking at data about a student passing or failing, so you may have different variables about their scores in different exams, their attendance and things like that. And based on that, you may create whether they pass or fail. So you may like to include new variables or new attributes in your data. That's data transformation. There may be other transformations out there as well. The final phase of data pre-processing is called data reduction. Too much data sometimes can be a problem for analysis. An analyst may want to reduce the number of variables to a manageable size before conducting an analysis. This process is commonly called as dimensional reduction because you are reducing the dimension or number of variables. Another possible way is that you can get volume reduction of data. It means, let's say if you have too many records, let's say you have millions of rows of data, You may not like to conduct the analysis on all the data. You may like to take a sample or subset of the data and run your analysis on it. This is another form of data reduction. So starting with raw data, if you undergo these 4 phases, you will come with well-formed data. Now this data should be suitable for running analytics.